No, like it's one of those things. I don't know if I particularly want to talk about Ireland rugby this week after against Japan. I don't know if I particularly want to talk about the Republic of Ireland against Portugal, but that is our lot. Next few hours.
It is.
It's not easy being an Ireland fan right now, unfortunately. But yeah, some interesting bits and bobs that we've seen in the papers. This one was kind of first signalled yesterday as well. It looks like Mac Hansen may very well go straight back into the team for Ireland. It is David Kelly and Rory O'Connor's piece on the back of the Irish Independent today. So Mac Hansen rejoined the squad yesterday. He was injured with Connacht early in the season, and it looks like he's going to go directly in at 15. And also, it looks like Joe McCarthy might go directly back in to the second row, Dara. So just on the Mac Hansen thing, first of all, we know as of yesterday that Osborne's out for the rest of the November internationals. He dislocated his shoulder at the weekend. So we were wondering who was going to go 15. Would it be Jimmy O'Brien, given that Jimmy O'Brien played there in the summer? But it looks like all the indications out of the Ireland camp are Mac Hansen, despite not having played for a month now, is going straight into the team.
And despite not being a fullback, really either.
A little bit with Connacht, no?
I asked Andy Farrell last week as well, did he consider playing anyone else at fullback this weekend, as in for Japan, just to get some minutes into someone else, should this type of thing happen, because we don't have a 15 in the squad. And listen, I don't want to call myself a mystique of any sorts, but look what's happened. We don't have a 15, and now we're scrambling. So
non-self-titled oracle, Dara.
Look, Mac Hansen...
You told him, he just wouldn't listen to you, would he?
No.
He just wouldn't listen.
Wouldn't listen.
I tried. I really tried. Mac Hansen hasn't played 15 for Ireland. Jimmy O'Brien has, and I think Stockdale played once at 15. So if you're looking at it in terms of experience, I would have thought Jimmy O'Brien was the answer to this question, but Mac Hansen probably a little bit of a better player in general and more used to playing big games for Ireland. So it would make sense, but if I was Jimmy O'Brien, I'd feel slightly hard done by.
The other selection call then, if Joe McCarthy is to go directly back in, as Rory O'Connor's been reporting in The Independent, that means a back row potentially, if Josh van der Fleer dropping out of the team, Caelan Doris going to 7, which would mean Conan at 8, and then a choice between Tyg Byrne or Ryan Baird. So Ryan Baird was calling some of the lineouts last week, but there is that possibility if McCarthy goes in with Ryan, that it means Tyg Byrne at 6.
I think they want to look at the future of the Ireland 7 jersey, and I think they think Doris might be the answer to that, should they pick him this weekend in that position, which is interesting. I'd say there's a few different names that probably feel slightly hard done by with that decision, but listen, I think Doris has played twice there for Ireland, maybe 3 times, and I'm sure he'd do a good job, but it's an interesting one. I'd imagine Tyg Byrne stays in the second row. I don't think you can drop him per se. Ryan Baird will also feel very hard done by after 2 great games in the 6 jersey. It'll be interesting though, because we do have lots of options, but it's a matter of keeping everyone happy and then also just making sure everyone's playing their best position. Yeah,
I'm not sure there's going to be much mixing and matching just purely because of the performance against Japan. I think if they'd won more comfortably, maybe there was an argument for some of those players retaining their place. Again, the reporting varies across quite a few of the papers, so the Independent are going with Joe McCarthy, could be fit, could go straight in. Rory Keane in the Mail today is reporting that we knew that Hugo Keenan and Joe McCarthy would be out of all of November. So one report is saying Joe McCarthy could be back, one is saying he's totally ruled out. And also Rory is reporting that it looks like Josh van der Fleer will be out of the game with a shoulder injury. Gary Ringrose a major doubt as well, a hamstring issue for Gary Ringrose. So I don't know if that opens the door for Tom Farrell to stay in. So Mac Hansen and Dara Murray coming into the squad yesterday. And again, the indication would be that if you're bringing a lock into the squad, there must be some injury concerns either on the back row or on the second row to make that change. So that's Rory's reporting on that one. But Matt Williams will give us the take on Australia. It's unfortunate. Dara, did you see what happened with Skelton at the weekend?
Yeah, he just came back for La Rochelle. I think he injured his ankle.
Literally, Joe Schmidt said, go and play for La Rochelle. Don't worry about it. You'll be back for the international window. 2 big games, and he injured his ankle.
And they got absolutely hammered as well. So it was all for nothing. Yeah, very, very unfortunate for Will Skelton.
Yeah, we'll bring
catch a break.
We'll bring you a clip of John O'Shea in a second, but let's shock and roll is the back of the Daily Star today.
Shock and roll.
The hope that Ireland can get 2 big results. And once again, I think John O'Shea has done this quite a few times in the campaign. He has been asked about the 2015 win against Germany and trying to, I guess, muster up that type of spirit for the game against Portugal. The reality is the Hungary's late points away from home against Hungary means that Ireland now need 2 wins. I don't think they can rely on Armenia to get a result, Arthur, against Hungary, realistically.
No. I saw that the 2015, the headline's all right. he obviously has to say it, but he effectively, did he say the squad now is as strong as it was then?
Yeah,
Something to that
I
effect.
think they have a big result in them like then, yeah.
He said they're strong enough to do what they did in 2015.
Yeah.
I think is what I took from it. Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know where the evidence is for that, but I mean, maybe you don't need evidence for everything.
yeah, why let that get in the way? If it was a one-off kind of thing, you'd kind of go like, you never know. But the fact we'd have to back it up. I mean, they've been incapable of backing up results. That's been the big issue, isn't it? Like that, it's kind of every time it's one step forward, it's two back. Just happens. Even the slight momentum after the Hungary at home 2-2, you're like, it's not ideal, but okay, got the point. Go to Armenia and lose. It's like rendered completely pointless. So the idea of it going back to back even is kind of it feels fanciful, but it doesn't. The whole thing is kind of. I don't think they'll hammer us. Like I don't think they'll probably be able to dig in and keep it respectable, but I don't know how we'll stop Portugal from scoring for 90 minutes. And there's not really much in what we've done thus far to suggest that we'll also score enough goals to cancel out whatever they do.
Yeah.
It's like, what's the most we've got in a game? Is it 2? The Hungary? That's it.
Yeah, 1 against Armenia at home.
Yeah.
In this campaign, 22. Yeah, I don't even know outside of that Bulgaria games that we scored 3. No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so I'd be like, we don't score a lot of
Do you
goals.
remember that day against Scotland in the sun in the Aviva when Michael Femi banged one in the top corner?
Under
That was
different-
3.
Pretty straight down the middle of the goal, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Even top corner.
It was a good goal. It's a good goal.
But no, it does feel a long time since Ireland even create that many chances. Like to Arthur's point there as well, Matthew, if you consider there were a lot of good things about the defensive solidity and I suppose the tenacity and everything about the away game against Portugal, but the reality is that Ireland created nothing and Ireland need to score here.
Yeah, and I like that defensive solidity and the tenacity or whatever is all well and good, but that is the absolute bare minimum. Like, you know, like we've always been able to do that and we should always be able to do that. I'm not suggesting that we should go out and take the game to Portugal by any means, but you'd like to think that we could at least offer some form of threat. But I mean, with the injuries we have now, Evan Ferguson obviously being out is going to take away that little bit of individual kind of flair or man who can step up for a moment. Troy Parrott is obviously back, but there's a lot of injuries all over the pitch. And like, I mean, one of our more creative outlets in that game, if there even was one, was Ryan Manning getting high up the pitch on the left. And now we haven't really even got a left back in the squad outside of Kevin O'Toole. So if he plays Kevin O'Toole, I mean, more power to him. I hope he's great and he's brilliant. He scores a hat trick. But like, I don't know. It's just
more power to who?
No, I do. I fully do. Well, to everyone, I suppose. But I don't know. Like, if we're still going to go with that approach of having that left back high up the pitch, and it does end up being Liam Scales, for example. I mean, he's not someone who ends up too high up the pitch at all. Like, so
I think Scales plays it.
I think so too. I do think. Yeah, I agree. But that would mean a change in approach. Because Liam Scales won't be able to do what Ryan Manning does in that sense, in terms of actually being able to deliver across consistently like that. That Manning is probably one of his better attributes. So,
who do you reckon plays left wing then?
I have no idea.
Because sometimes the idea of playing a defender who's more solid was to give Sammy Smodic space over there. Obviously, he's injured and out as well.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like, I mean, you've got Ebisele, you've got Ogbene. They both played the last day, I think, against Portugal. Mikey Johnson is there. I don't know if a game like this would suit Mikey Johnson. I think he definitely should get minutes if we still are in the game towards the end. I would absolutely bring Mikey Johnson on. I don't know if he gives you enough off the ball in a game like this. So I actually don't know. I really don't know what he's going to do.
Even for a while, I actually like the idea of playing, say, I don't the Doherty experiment all that well, but the idea being put Doherty at left back and let Manning play slightly ahead of him. Yeah. Often the creativity was to come from a wing back on that side. Yeah. You say Scales is probably more defensively minded.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and maybe that is what he does, and maybe it's not an orthodox setup. Maybe it is your Scales is maybe you play a back five, but Scales is a left back as opposed to a left wing back, and Ebisele or Ogbene starts on that left hand side and gives you the legs that you need, but also gives you that bit of threat going forward. I really don't know. We were speaking before about like potentially trying to name a team or predict a team. I have no idea what he's going to do. Like, I really don't. I mean, even the team he named for the Portugal game was the last time was a bit weird as well. Like, you know, just to set up the positions. You're looking at it before the game starts. You're like, where's he going to play? Where's he going to play? And I think you'd be only doing the evening theorising now, and you'd end up getting caught up in your own words. And
we were so deep that day as well.
So deep.
Like, so I don't know if Ferguson's probably not playing. You presume he starts with Parrott, and even he, I don't know.
I wouldn't be at all shocked to see Adam Ida start.
Yeah, me neither. Because you're gonna if he's gonna do somewhat. 'Cause I suppose he'll look at the last one and kind of go like, "Oh, it was pretty successful until the end."
He will.
Yeah.
Obviously, we never did anything that could win the game, which is now essential. So that makes it difficult. But it's God, how deep Ferguson had to go.
Yeah.
Like he was basically on the edge of his own 18-yard box at times. Like certainly in that gap between there and the halfway. So it was, and then more or less tries the same thing against Armenia.
I think if it was a weaker opposition, he might have played Paris off Ida.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if this is still going to be respectful towards Portugal and the idea that you try and nick something on the break, so he'll go a bit more conservative. But the options in midfield have now been cut back because small bones injury, suspensions.
Yeah.
Oof.
Malumbi. I think it'll be Cullen and Taylor will be the two.
Right.
I'm very fond of Conor Coventry. We can talk about this a bit more later, but I'm absolutely amazed that Alan Brown isn't in the squad. I don't know, was he battling with some form of injury when the squad was announced, but he played 90 minutes. Well, he started at the weekend and played the majority of the game. They beat Birmingham Middlesbrough, and
how
he's been excellent.
Him being injured last week.
Yeah, he played at the weekend. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but like, I'm amazed. He's been one of the best midfielders in the championship this season, and like, I'm a very big fan of Conor Coventry, and he's been in and around the squads, but I don't think he'll come in for his first start against Portugal. Jack Heller's been playing well the last couple of weeks. He didn't play at all between for his club between the Armenia loss and the Portugal loss, but he's been back starting for them, and they've picked up a bit of form, and Hamer knows him now, unless he's scarred by Armenia and Hamer doesn't want to start him. I'd maybe, but I'd be surprised if it's not Taylor and Cullen as a 2, and then whatever you like around that. But I'm amazed Alan Brown's not there. If he was fit and available and he wasn't picked, I think that's a major oversight.
I'll throw something around the room because I listened to you guys talking about Evan Ferguson yesterday, but it just reminded me, Vinnie Perth and I were having a chat last Thursday on the evening show about the fact that Evan Ferguson is in this awkward position now where Gasparini has been very clear that if you continue to go back and get injured in international duty, it causes a problem for Roma. Roma at the weekend were like, we do not want to release Evan Ferguson to even go and be looked at by the FAI doctors. This guy has an ankle injury. There's no way he can play the first game. It's very unlikely he'll play the second game. And yet Ireland obviously persist. I know you were chatting about it, but then John O'Shea spoke afterwards yesterday and he said they're kind of hopeful that he'll be able to play in Budapest. Is Evan Ferguson, should he not be maybe looking after himself here and saying, look, I'm not going to be able to play?
Yeah, probably.
It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one. I think there's a bit of nuance to it in that sense. We kind of actually touched on this with Ger last week. He needs to be careful, in a sense that he doesn't want to ruin any relationship or damage any relationship he has there at Roma, because at the end of the day, this campaign, unless we win both games, is going to be over in a couple of weeks.
Well, I would hope that the Irish management would say if they don't beat Portugal on Thursday night that they just.
Well, that's a no-brainer. If the Hungary game is a dead rubber, then there's absolutely no reason for him to even be in the squad. But like, he's got a long season ahead of him there over in Rome, and you wouldn't want to see that be damaged because he decided to join the squad when they told him not to. But at the same time, we need him, and my priority will always be Ireland, I suppose. And like, I would like to see him. I like to see him playing, obviously. But if he's injured, he's injured. But I don't know. It's strange. He obviously wants to play.
Oh yeah, I mean,
he obviously wants to be involved. Like, so.
And look, there's enough supporters who give out about lads who don't come into the squad because of knocks and so on. And we saw
what was Vinny's take on it?
Vinny says he needs to be kind of careful about it.
Yeah.
He has got to a point where he's had, effectively, this is an ankle injury on top of an ankle injury, and it's very clear that he's not fit, and it means that he's not been able to get kind of a run of games going as a result of Roma, and he can understand why Roma will be frustrated, and particularly if he decides, they were saying 3 weeks. They were saying 3 weeks when he got injured 2 weeks ago. You just don't take that risk.
Yeah.
That you kind of go, look, I'm going to have to heal up my ankle. I don't want to get in a situation where potentially I aggravate this, even if it's making a trip, to go to an international squad and he doesn't play, and the next thing he goes back to Roma, and Roma are annoyed, and they go, this is the second window in a row that you've travelled when you really shouldn't have.
Well, yeah.
Because I think Dovbik's injured now as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's out for six weeks, I think.
So
and the ball is out as well. So like,
there's a chance for him.
The injury's not that bad. There's an opportunity for him to nail down a position there for at least 4 or 5 games.
He needs it, like.
Yeah. Oh, he really does.
It does. It's becoming like, it's a shame now the way it's kind of panned out after the way it started. That he's kind of almost become now sort of bit part player.
Yeah.
And it's I'd say you'd be easily forgotten there as well.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're kind of going against the express wishes of the coach. Like, so it's
A coach who's only new in a job too, who's not going to want people thinking that he's letting.
soft touch.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Decision options aren't great.
It's
up front.
tough though, because he is like, he'll know as well his own importance to Ireland.
Yeah.
Like, it won't be lost on him.
No.
That without him, I mean, we don't score goals.
No.
So it's a tough one to, and you look at someone then like, well, he's on, I suppose it's interesting, he's on the same trajectory as Robbie Keane. I'm sure he looks at that and wants that kind of role and wants that kind of centrality. And Keane, to be fair to him, like, sure, he obviously did, but he's a guy I do not recall ever really missing games.
No.
Whatsoever.
And also, the difficult thing for Evan is that at 20 years of age, he's on the same scoring rate as Robbie Keane.
Yeah.
Robbie Keane obviously gets lift off in the next 2 or 3 years of his international career. And I suppose, in fairness to Ferguson, Robbie Keane's playing in a vastly superior team at that point, in a far more settled team.
What would you do now if you were Ferguson? Say the Roma thing doesn't work out.
Where do you go next?
Yeah, what would you try and do? Like, I know it's not going to be in his hands exclusively, but
I would say at that point his stock goes down, where you're not looking at Premier League teams and you're probably not looking at another move in Europe.
Yeah.
Maybe it means going to the Championship and trying to just get regular games and regular goals. It's such a pity because it is only like 2.5 years ago that this guy was being hyped up so much, and we're naturally, as Irish media and Irish supporters, we're going to hype up the next big talent that's coming through. But genuinely, the feeling across England, and a lot of the reports were that this guy was destined for a move. Manchester United were genuinely looking at him.
Man United, yeah.
I think Andy Minton was saying that to us last week as well, that they had seriously considered him, and even before they started scouting Šeško, they were looking at Evan Ferguson's profile again and wondering what he'd be like when he came back from injury. So clearly a lot of clubs like a lot about him, but the problem is, the older that you get, you're not quite the 18-year-old where you're an unpolished diamond. You then become a 21-year-old who's had a few injury-affected years, and your stock falls. So
I would have absolutely no doubt that he's more than good enough to be the best player in the Championship if that is what happened. But the Championship's a dangerous game. If you go down there and
never come back.
If that doesn't work out, like if that doesn't work out, then you're in a bit of trouble. Like, so I think for his own sake, if this ideally the Roma thing does work out, but if we're saying that it doesn't, I think the Troy Parrott route is probably a smart thing to do.
Daniel Fisichella was keen to point out last week as well that it doesn't feel like Roma are actually going to bomb him out in January. That seemed to be quite the rumour that was going around. But he said the feeling within Rome very much is that they want to give time to Ferguson, but he needs to start scoring goals, which is
because they're being linked with some strike. They were linked with Xerxes, I think, as well, the January window. So if they go sign another striker, then you do get a little bit worried there.
I love international window as well, because you always get international managers who blame clubs for everything. And in 2 of the English papers today, they've gone for different headlines. But the Star have gone for cop to blame for Flo Woe. This is all about Florian Wirtz. And cop to blame for Flo Woe is also what the Mirror have gone with today too. They've copied each other's homework, it seems. And this is about Julian Nagelsmann, who has slammed Liverpool and the fact that Arne Slot's team are not going well, and that is the reason that Florian Wirtz is not working out, Arthur. It's not because of Florian Wirtz's own form, it's because Liverpool aren't providing the right platform for him.
Yeah. I suppose what else are you going to say? There seems like a grain of truth to that, though. It does. We were talking about this yesterday. Like, it seems mad that they've signed this guy, and I know Colin particularly doesn't put too much stock in the price paid, but I do think you can't overlook that and just go, oh, you're just like you're just like everyone else. It just seems kind of mad they spent all this money on a guy who seems brilliant, but don't want to seem to play him in the position at which he was brilliant, where you signed him from. It's a very weird kind of dynamic. I can't. It's so strange from a club that you kind of associate with getting so many things right. And I don't know exactly who was still there or who was gone. Like, they do have flops on their hands. Like, obviously Nunes, the biggest one of them all. Keita. So they do have some black marks to their name, kind of. But, like, we're kind of all assuming that at some stage it's going to click. Or at some stage, whether it's everyone kind of, now you hear Liverpool fans like, oh, can't be, looking forward to AFCON when Salah's gone, and then we'll see it. And it's like, it's kind of it's a risky enough game. Like, why was he retained?
So the Salah point is the elephant in the room here, which is now being discussed, funnily enough. But I wonder if the surgery with Liverpool, because everyone said they changed too much or they tried to do too much last summer. In a weird way, maybe it was the right time from a position of strength to say, Mo, you have been a magnificent player for us, You've done everything, but you now have the chance for a free transfer. Best of luck. We're going to go a different way. Florian Wirtz, Ekitike, Isak, they're going to be our new attack. We're going to work them in, and therefore we're not going to have to rely on Mo Salah for next season. The problem is, we saw on Sunday, when Mo Salah's output is not there, he's a guy who's now being carried by staying further up the field. You oftentimes need to play a more defensive player in order to, I guess, negate the threat which is coming down his side anyway, because he's not going to track back. Yeah. And if he's not giving you that return in goals and assists, which he hasn't been doing really since March or April of this year, you start to wonder, are you now carrying him as a passenger as opposed to trying to make Florian Wirtz the focal point of your attack?
I think he got embarrassed, might be a strong word, but absolutely pocketed by Nico
Riley was
Riley.
brilliant, though.
Just destroyed him. Like, every time he got the ball, just had an answer to what he was doing. And like with Wirtz, it's such a weird thing. Like, they pay so much money, but he seems to be a player that only plays well when the team is playing well. If you're paying that type of money, you'd want to be getting a game changer. You want someone that's like actually just taking over a game and turning things around for your team, and he's just not that type of player at all. He needs everyone else around him to be playing good football, and they're not. So I don't know. And then you've Isak as well, who's not worked out so far. It's a lot of money to be spending. You weren't sure it was going to work out.
Yeah, like, it is early. We will not like you're not hang them out to dry like it, but it is startling. It's kind of.
That's one of those games, though. Like City, that's one of those games they earmark at the start of the season. Like, that's a big game. We need our big players to play well, and not one of them did.
No, and it's interesting that we must get someone who actually knows what they're talking about on with this. But it is interesting the way the German players, or the guys who've come from the Bundesliga, rather, seems maybe it is because you look at Šeško,
Kai Havertz.
Sorry, I just meant the one just gone. But Šeško, Wirtz, Frimpong, Gittins.
Ekitike has been good,
There's a few more. Xavi Simons, Spurs.
Yeah, he looks way
anonymous. It's a strange thing. Maybe it's just a case. Maybe that's coincidence. Maybe it's even your man Voltemada started well for Newcastle. I've not watched enough of him to know, but I know he's not scoring at that rate anymore. But it's interesting. Maybe it just takes time, because it is the ferocity of it. Is like, it's funny. I was only at Spurs at the weekend, and it wasn't the most high octane match. Like, it was nothing like what you saw on Sunday. But you can see like why someone, even Wirtz coming in, like, you're not, like, that will have been one of the most difficult matches he's ever played. And that's not a slight. Like, it's just he's obviously still very young, and it's like nothing else. The pace they're coming at you at, and the pace you have to do. And it's not that he can't do it, but like, it must be such a change, like when you're getting bullied off the ball.
I think I've mentioned this before, but I remember that season, that Xabi Alonso Leverkusen team that were unbeaten in the league and
until Dublin.
And I was there that day and was like so excited to see like these players who like have been all over, not like all over your phone, and everyone's talking about these guys are X, Y, and Z. And I was like looking at Florian Wirtz, and okay, this is going to be great. And just that, obviously, at the time, you're like, that's just he just had an off day. He wasn't good, like, he wasn't good at all. But the only takeaway I had was that he just looked so lightweight. He just looked so lightweight. Like, whatever about his height or whatever, he just looked, in stature, just looked small. And Atalanta, they were playing that day, like, Gasparini's side had some, like, huge men in the team, like, just big players, experienced players, older lads who were in their, Wirtz at the time was maybe 20, 21, I'd say. And he just looked small. And again, he went and did the next season with Leverkusen, and he played with Germany, and excellent in the Euros that time. Just gone. But it just seemed, every time I watch him playing with Liverpool, it just brings me back to sitting in the Aviva that day, where I was like, Jesus, this, like, obviously incredibly talented player. You see the way he touch, he's nice on the ball, he turns well, he plays a nice pass, but it's just, yeah, I just get flashbacks to that game in Dublin every time I watch him play with Liverpool so far this season. And
I still expect him to play well for Germany in this interest.
Yeah, of course. And I remember saying as well, like, we were going through the fixtures here one day, and Cullen was highlighting a few of the fixtures that Liverpool had coming up, and playing this team was Brentford away, and whatever was after Aston Villa, and then there was Real Madrid, and I was like, Real Madrid would probably be his best game there, because it's just the nature of the team they're playing against.
I have half an idea that they signed him for Europe.
Maybe so.
Not to write off the rest of the season, but yeah. I don't think they need him or needed him to win the league. Not that you're hoping he does both, but I do think someone, even you see him like those games, because he has got his he definitely has at least an assist from that first game against Frankfurt, wasn't it?
So he's, I believe,
Yeah, I think he
saw
did that,
online. I think he's had 14 games that weren't in Germany, and he's scored and assisted while in Germany. So
yeah.
I think
So that's like, I just think he'll be an absolute difference maker there. Like,
Yeah.
but it's just a different style of football.
But it's funny as well. Like we always say, when a team is as good as Liverpool were last season, that the best thing to do is always to like strengthen from a position of strength. And without doubt, on paper, Liverpool went and did that and signed all these players for all this money.
life is not EA 26.
Yeah,
for
no,
Football Manager. That's
I know,
the key to this.
I know exactly. But there's almost a sense of they've looked at it and gone, okay, well, Slot went and walked the league to a degree without a whole lot of backing, and they've gone, okay, well, he did that, so we can trust him to do whatever. And they've sort of done that, and they've trusted him. Now, again, I'm working under the assumption that these are all players that he wanted, which might not be the case. But I'm sure
he works for Liverpool's transfer committee.
Yeah.
I'm sure they were looking at these players for a while. They knew that Trent Alexander-Arnold wasn't going to sign a new contract, so they need a new right back, so they went for Frimpong. I think they knew that Robertson, with his age profile, they had to get a new left back. Kirkis was one of the best left backs in the Premier League. I think you can argue all of the moves that they made. Like Isak was the best forward in the Premier League last season.
it's just a lot of change.
the best available.
Who's not Erling Haaland?
Yeah.
Given the Haaland's force go back. But like Isak was brilliant last year, so therefore I can totally understand why they went.
I think he will be a bust.
Really?
I think Wirtz will be great. I think Isak, I think that's the one that just got like exposed.
Wow, that's a big
It's like,
shout, yeah.
what are we doing? How, lads, how has this gotten to this point? Why are we paying 140 million for him?
I'll agree. I'll agree
I
that
think it's insane.
Yeah, I'll agree. I think
0879 180 180. If you think Arthur's take is too hot to handle.
What do you think happens to him? Like, do you think he goes
I think he'll
up?
be fine. In the same way, like if you look back at Nunes' record, it's not bad. He's not
No,
terrible.
it's just the
There's been
memory of him.
it's
Yeah.
just you way overpaid for him.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he underperformed to that level. There is no, I don't know. I was kind of said it from the get-go. What does Isak have to do to justify paying 140 million for him?
Oof.
Surely outscore Erling Haaland,
Probably league
or at
titles,
least go.
Champions League
Yeah.
trophies. Yeah.
So like he has to be instrumental in a team that's winning. Like he's not like. Maybe time will prove me wrong, and I know he's had like a stop-start beginning to the season. It's not his fault. He's kind
You're
of picked up
basically
injuries.
writing off a season with him though, in the manner that they signed him.
Yeah.
Like you are kind of doing that, and that like there's no way he's up to
No,
speed.
it's not about season. I think he's going to take a little bit of a while, and then he picked up the
Well,
injuries.
there's the actual the basic level of fitness and having your preseason, but then there's also gelling into a new team that are playing a new system. Like there's more than just him not having the preseason. I think like and his fitness not being up to scratch, and the fact he's been injured a couple of times. I do think that I mean, we're nearly at Christmas already, and it seems as though he hasn't played.
Oh, this
Yeah,
smells
yeah.
like the Grafton Street lights here. It's early November yet.
We're coming up to Christmas.
But it does feel like that. Like like it doesn't feel like he's started yet.
Yeah, that's what I
It
mean.
doesn't feel like
that's my
he's
point.
got
Yeah.
going.
Yeah, and we're a good few games in now. Like they've played about 20 games in all comps, I'd say.
Yeah, well, he has. I'm looking there. He has 8 games. That's combined off the bench as well in the goal. So he's not really. He's not got a run. I wonder how many games he started in succession.
I would say very few. It feels like every time that Slot talks about him, it's we need to be very careful with his minutes. He doesn't have the match sharp.
Well, the thing was, it was before the Man United game, wasn't it? Where it's like you can judge him now. He's up fully fit
Yeah.
now, and he was off.
United game,
Arthur has judged him harshly.
No, I
He
don't.
did-
I don't
he
think
did
again. Like
absolutely.
I'm careful to couch all these things. He's obviously not a bad footballer. He's not a dud. I think he's way better than Darwin Núñez. He's an improvement on him, no shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that he's a 140 million pound man. Like it's just.
It is a
It's an enormous amount of money. I mean, I know like everything's circumstance. They obviously wanted someone who was Premier League experienced, everything else. You can see clubs doing that. It makes sense. And you're kind of bound by
They
that.
bought Newcastle's target, so obviously the price went up as well.
Exactly. So there's all sorts of things. It's not like they wanted to go out and spend that much money. But it's just like, it's such a kind of a weight to attach to a guy. To kind of go like,
You're my 140 million.
you are
Do something there.
the most expensive player that's ever been signed in this league. Now deliver. It's like,
Yeah. And if you don't deliver,
and if you don't deliver, you will be exposed, and like gobshites like us will talk about you all the time, and it'll never relent. I don't know.
Speaking of next moves, and I'm a sucker for a feeder headline as well. Books Rodgers eyes Saudi move. This is Brendan Rodgers. I'm surprised this hasn't happened or been linked before. And again, the Mirror have gone with Mega Books Rodgers is their title for this one. So Brendan Rodgers obviously out of work after Celtic and the statement from Dermot Desmond and all that. But apparently the 52-year-old now has strong, genuine interest from several clubs across the Middle East, particularly Saudi Arabia, interest in him. I don't know, does Brendan Rodgers wait, Matthew, for a job potentially in England, or does he go, fund my life and I will go to the Saudi League?
The first thing I thought was, obviously we talk about Alan Sheehan a good bit on the show, and he's managing Swansea at the minute, and he's under a lot of pressure.
I have no idea where this went.
He's under he's under a lot of pressure.
He comes up every Tuesday about 9:30.
Yeah, tune in. But yeah, obviously Brendan Rodgers was at Swansea some time ago, so that was the first thing I thought of. But outside,
Did he go back to the Championship?
I think so. I don't think he's above that anymore. I mean, he got relegated last time he was in the Premier League. Then he went to Celtic and did good in the first season and not so good in the next season. I don't know what Premier League job would you be eyeing?
Well, Wolves didn't
look. What's his level? Like Wolves?
Yeah, like he'd get it.
But Wolves are terrible. Like Wolves are equivalent of a Championship side at the minute. Like,
well, I suppose because they've been gutted for parts, but you'll fill me in. Like Swansea aren't exactly upwardly mobile in the Championship.
They could well be.
Okay.
They could be. Like they spent 15-20 million during the summer. Like they've new owners. There's ambitious kind of people in there.
People would get behind that appointment as well.
Oh, absolutely.
They would love that.
They'd love him back. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm not like. There's absolutely no evidence behind that. I don't know. I just kind of came to my head because I wouldn't be surprised if Alan Sheehan was out there in a couple of weeks. Hopefully he's not. But that's I don't know, a Premier League job. Yeah, I don't know. The Wolves. Yeah, maybe Wolves would have made sense. I don't know. West Ham maybe would have made sense, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Brendan Rodgers will do. I don't know.
It won't be Ireland, though, will it?
No. I don't think we could
afford him. No.
Well, I think we can afford anyone. This is the thing. I was just thinking about this at the weekend. So the FAI are in the middle of, again, the latest round of job cuts that they have. They've been heavily criticised about the money that they were spending on PR companies, essentially. Look, in all likelihood, the debt is now going back every year. It goes back a little bit further. It's 2036. They're now talking about being debt-free, despite having the games coming in 28. There is no money and there's no potential income stream here either, because Ireland, with the exception of 2028, where touch wood, England and Scotland do their job and qualify and send us through to the finals, outside of that, Ireland aren't qualifying for a tournament in the foreseeable. So those kind of get out of jail free clauses, the Thierry Henry money, that type of stuff is not happening again.
No,
I just don't think the money's there. This is the one thing where I wouldn't be surprised if Ferguson signs a new contract.
Well, when we beat Portugal on Thursday, we'll.
Do you suspect? So say he doesn't get a new contract. Because I fully, the logical side, I fully agree with you. I'd cede you on that 100%. But I kind of feel like the backlash should be too much, or maybe it's just the antipathy. It's just like whatever, do whatever the hell you want, because it's not been good enough. But like, do you think, say he does go or gets gotten, do you think then it's another case where we don't have a competitive game for an awful long time after that?
No.
So do you think they just leave that off? Same sort of situation again, no manager?
I don't know if they can leave it. I don't know if they can leave it hanging that kind of 7-8 month period again. I think they took so much criticism for that the last time and took so many questions over it as well. So again, if that had worked out, Mark Hannon would have turned around and said, look, I delivered a really, really top quality manager. It was a weird process to get him, but we got the right man in the end. The reality is that when it turned out that they went for a manager who wasn't particularly being sought elsewhere, I think he's been linked with Indonesia now at the moment.
I saw that, yeah. He's got a great agent.
Yeah, he gets him to plenty of interesting locations.
Endo's third continent.
Yeah. Well, like,
I think he's actually worked on guitar before, hasn't he?
He has. He's definitely went to the Middle East, yeah. And he's obviously been in the Bahamas. He's been in the Caribbean. He's been here and he's done Iceland.
Okay, yeah.
So it's quite the combo. But like, we're not in that type of. I think we're in that type of job market. Like, allegedly they spoke to Lee Carsley. All the talk is they did, and Carsley said, "Look, my staff is going to cost this much," and that was the end of conversation. Because it's not just that you have to employ Lee Carsley, you also have to bring others in as well. And I think with Hamer, it probably helped that they have Paddy McCarthy and John O'Shea already on the books.
Yeah.
So I don't know. If Hamer goes, do they then go O'Shea, despite the fact that O'Shea is now associated with 2 reigns that have not been successful?
Yeah.
Do they go look at Stephen Bradley and finally give him an interview and actually turn up on time for the interview this time around? I don't know.
For all the stick, our thing, like, for the criticism and stuff Rugby comes under, like, they must look across at just the kind of way things are run there.
Yeah.
and be like, it's been one kind of fairly seamless succession plan that'll probably fall into another when Farrell goes.
I think I'm right in saying the day that Joe Schmidt announced it, they announced Farrell about an hour later.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we have the guy here. He's already here.
Well, it's not been smooth sailing either, but it's always just seemed to work out. I think we're just better at the sport.
Yeah,
at the
we have
minute.
better
Like, that's the main
players,
thing, really. We just have better players, so that obviously funnels its way through.
Does the fact that the RFU has a bit more money probably help as well?
Well, they've got more money because they've performed. Like,
Is Andy Farrell's contract public? Do we know what he's on?
I don't think it is now. I
I don't know if I've ever heard it. I have no frame of reference for that at all.
It's never referenced the same way as
Yeah.
the FAI as well.
No.
The FAI is always a consistent one where you go, he's on $500,000. When it was being topped up by Dennis O'Brien previously, it was Martin O'Neill is on this amount and Dennis O'Brien is paying this much of it, and the same with Trapattoni.
Roy Keane's better paid than most international managers.
That's almost the entire talking point around a few international windows. So I don't
That's
know.
it. Maybe we just need to get back a wealthy benefactor.
Possibly.
Yeah.
If there's anyone out there,
we need money,
give us a hand. The funny thing, again, it almost seems to always come around. Roy Keane, again, was talking about the Ireland job on the overlap recently as well and saying he'd be interesting going to talk to them. I don't know. Again, I just don't think the money's there. I don't think they have the money to take him away from the overlap at this time.
Great point.
Like, realistically.
I do both.
Do you think you'd do both?
I think you do both, yeah.
You'd be fine with that. You wouldn't think that would put you in an invidious position when he's calling out God knows who on the front of a
If
platform.
we're
where the
getting
guy
Roy
is.
Keane in to be the manager, we know what we're getting ourselves in for. Like.
Yeah, I'll take any clauses that come
I
with
think that's fine. I'd be totally okay with that. But I
Totally
actually,
okay
I'd
with
be
it.
totally okay with it. I think Lee Carsley would be my preference, though. He would be my preference.
Yeah, I don't think there's a hope of that, does
No,
there?
I don't think so either.
Don't think so.
But that would be my preference. I'd Duff either as well.
Really?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Duff. It's like, it's a lesser version of the Roy Keane thing, I think, with maybe a little more recent managerial experience, I suppose.
Bit of energy.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same sort of appointment, I think. But yeah, no, Carsley would be my preference. But as you say,
Ask Barry Murphy a bit later on about the Stephen Bradley side to it. You know, he's just won a double.
Yeah,
you know,
for
they
sure.
need 6 points to try and get out of the group now in the Conference League. Obviously got out of the group last year. You could argue that, 5 titles in 6 seasons, 2 FAI Cups. There's not a huge amount more to achieve. Thankfully, his young lad Josh is now over the worst of his treatment, so therefore the possibility of maybe even being outside of Ireland a bit more is there for him. He was asked about it in the press conference at the weekend after the FAI Cup final, and he said he's not quite sure what his next move is. But concentration obviously on Rovers now. Again, maybe if they are looking for a manager and if it drags a bit, it's hard to know. I think there's a fair few Republic of Ireland supporters who genuinely do not want another League of Ireland manager after what happened with Stephen
there's
Kenny.
definitely scar tissue there.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a culture
I
war
would
about
say there's scar tissue within the FAI as well, although it is a completely different group of people now, I suppose, than it was when Kenny was there. But I still think that there would be reservations, whether they're valid or not, I suppose, is what the debate is.
It's worth bearing in mind as well. Look, we bring some of them onto this show as well, but the ex-pros with Ireland, I think very much were sceptical about Kenny for the very reason that a lot of players will probably be sceptical too, which is that they walk in and if they see a manager who is managed in the UK and who they're familiar with, they're more likely to probably buy into it, rather than if a League of Ireland manager comes in. I have a feeling that quite a few of the players think this guy's out of depth.
It's really interesting, and it's a very surface judgment, but I do wonder, like, I don't know why I think Bradley would have maybe less of an issue navigating that.
Because of the
Maybe,
profile of the
but-
squad now.
No, well, maybe because I suppose he never came through at Arsenal. But he did have long association as well. I think he was working in some scouting capacity, but he just seems like someone who'd make that transition a bit easier, whereas it kind of always, Kenny didn't wear it as well. I don't think, like, it kind of, now the results, he was always on the defensive, so it's hard. But I do wonder, it's pure guesswork, I don't know, I just wonder if Bradley, if he'd navigate that a bit easier, if he'd be a bit easier in the room.
I know what you mean. I get that sense as well, yeah.
There's also a thing that his stock is high enough compared to an awful lot of the players. Even the ones that Kenny were bringing in, like, it was kind of, there was, because he started so many careers, it was kind of all that, like, hope. Whereas now, even, like, most of those players be fairly misguided to be kind of feeling themselves too much.
Throwing their weight around.
Just not sure I can take another 2 or 3 years of League of Ireland versus non-League of Ireland.
I don't. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
I
a
agree
it's
with
an
you. Yeah.
element that you watch.
Yeah. Matthew, I did want to ask you as well
Yes.
about we've got a reasonably big fight which is coming up in the next while, where we've got what Eddie Hearn, because I recently watched the Matchroom Netflix documentary, which was sports washing of the highest degree, whereby it was literally
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I don't know.
Not like that.
For anyone who watched it, anyone who wants to review this is my honest review.
I haven't seen it. I've only seen a few
They
clips.
could not have been any more favourable towards the Hearn family.
Okay.
Like, quite literally. This is, the Hearns are great, and here's the reason that the Hearns should be running not every sport, but they should also be running the country, and they should also be running Netflix, was the impression that I got.
Yeah.
And even, remember when they had the Frank Warren versus Hearn
the
match night in
5v5
Saudi?
in Riyadh,
Yeah, they really made that out as if, Eddie was in pain because his fighters were losing.
Every one of them lost,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, in the midst of all that, he was starting to talk about the Ben Eubank rivalry and why this would be magnificent to promote in the last episode.
Yeah.
It's now come around.
Yeah, it's on
And I've barely heard about it.
It's on Saturday. That's what I'm saying. That's actually why I raised the point. Obviously, the first fight happened amidst a bit of kind of controversy, I suppose, with some of the rehydration clauses and Conor Ben coming up in weight and Chris Eubank Jr. going down in weight, and the fight itself happened and it was incredible the way Chris Eubank Sr. rocked up, and it was cinema-like. Fight itself delivered, was great. Eubank tired towards the end. Ben came on strong. He held in there. It was just a good old-fashioned scrap, like really British boxing scrap. Like, reminds you of the early 2010s with your Frotcher Groves. Like it's that. It is that. Like, you had that about it. Like, and we hadn't seen that for a while. 90s, yeah. Well, look, that shows that's a generational divide there, I suppose. But it was great. But people, there was a sense of which you don't usually get every time there's a good fight. A lot of people be like, "I'll do it again. We want to see it again." But there was an awful sense of that was great. Let's leave it. No one's really taken any damage. Great damage. It could have, what could have happened with the rehydration clause for Eubank. Ben has a lot of options on the table. He's a good bit younger than Chris Eubank. Chris Eubank Jr. is. He could have gone off and look for some world title fights or whatever, which he still might get in the end. But anyway, the rematch was made, and I just couldn't believe when it popped up on my timeline that it was on the weekend. I've seen absolutely nothing about it. For someone whose timeline would typically be flooded with all sorts of boxing and combat sports and all that kind of thing, it's just obviously there's been little stuff here and there. I turned on Sky Sports News a few weeks ago and Conor Ben was in the gym with one of the reporters and they were having a laugh or whatever. But there's just been there's been very little for a fight of its magnitude. Now I don't know, is that down to the fact it's on DAZN? And
I won't want to bring in Matt Williams in a second, but I think there is a big part of that. I think once upon a time, boxing was on one box office station for the best part here and in the UK. There were some fights that were on terrestrial TV, and therefore the attention was always drawn to the big title fight. Now it's spread across everywhere.
And also as well, I think DAZN operate on like a subscription basis, so there's a base level that money that they're going to make from this fight through that revenue like system or whatever.
They're not pushing a one fight base.
That there's no real need for them. Obviously they'll want to get as many subscribers or buyers as they can for it, but there's no it's not the equivalent of what a pay-per-view would be in the sense that if people don't buy the pay-per-view, we don't make as much money. That's not really there anymore. But just outside of that, I saw this morning Paddy Donovan is going to be fighting Liam Parrow over in Brisbane in January in an eliminator fight. So it's good to see that he's gotten a big fight after that kind of controversial decision loss to
two controversial.
Two controversial decision losses to Lewis Crocker. Yeah, so it's good to see that he's going to be back up on the horse now, and hopefully he can get the job done over there in Brisbane and maybe get a rematch of Lewis Crocker, who could very well fight Conor Ben in the meantime. So that was just another story from boxing I saw come through this morning. But yeah, it's just I look forward to the fight on Saturday. I wouldn't have been kind of too keen for it to happen again, as I said, but now that it's on, it's one of them, you just will watch it, you know.
Yeah. So. Good stuff, lads. Dara's going to stay with me. We'll talk rugby in a moment. But first of all, time for the cash machine.